Okay, Stranded Alien Dawn, we are going straight on to character selection. Now, I would say this is entirely up to you. When you start a new game, it will randomly allocate you either 3 or 4 survivors depending on what you're doing, and I would suggest you start on easy just to get a familiarity with the game before you start trying stuff which is more challenging. So this is on easy mode, and I was looking around all of the different characters and I found that having Katrina and her sister Krista, who is a genius basically and good for research, along with Katrina being good for healing, was a fairly good combination. So if we put in with Katrina, Krista is their sisters, so as well as that you do get that kind of bonus of them being family. And then what you need is you need someone who is good at combat and you need someone who is good at construction. Now Jack here, we've got very good combat skills. Edmund, we've got relatively good combat, not as good as Jack, but then Jack's other skills aren't particularly great. So what we can do is we can click people off and you can scroll. There's a lot of crew that you can go through. And then you want to decide which ones are best for what you want to set up with the early game. Now for me, I personally also like having Raka, although he is a miserable person. In fact, we'll follow him around and his story as we go through, but you will see that keeping Raka happy is a bit of a challenge, but at the same time his construction abilities are very, very good. So what we will do is we will skip forwards and cut through various sections of the game as we go through, finishing with a large chunk which takes us to about the 40-minute mark of the game, and I will just highlight as we go through. So I find that Edmund, Katina, Krista and Raka is a fairly good combination. So you've got basically everything fairly much covered, and Edmund also writes short stories, which is very handy because it's early game entertainment, and he is also fairly intelligent and can do research. Now the first thing you want to do when you start is observe. Now observing is very important in this game. So see this, we've got some debris crashing down. Over here we've got some tall grass, go and observe that. Okay, you want to have a look around for some key resources. So these over here, these red things, we're going to want to observe those. And we're going to want to observe the short grass and all of these plants. So we're basically observing all of the main stuff that will become farmable resources as we develop our shelter. Now the first thing you want to do is put down a shelter because it's all you can build to begin with. And you want to build it in a fairly open and flat area depending on your seed, and then you want to build it double wide. And you're going to be building more additional shelters, and you also want to scavenge the initial pod that you've crashed in. Now luckily with this seed I've been very fortunate in that there is a lot of space debris, but what there is not close by is trees for wood. Now we're going to put down another couple of shelters. So again, camp, shelter and scrap metal, and put in another one that is double wide, and we're already at insufficient material to construct them. Now the next thing you want is sleeping spots on the ground, and you want to put in for the number of people that you've got, and you can just copy and then do it again, click on it again, hit copy, put in another one, and again one more, copy, put it in, and then you will have 4 sleeping spots. So there are 4 spots for the 4 survivors of the crash to sleep in, and what you next want to do is get some wood. Now on this seed, as I said, I found that the wood was actually quite a long way away. We do have some trees around, but you also want to observe the tree as well, at least one of them, so you can then plant them later in the game for farming. So again, we've observed one tree, but as you can see, there aren't actually that many trees in our direct vicinity. We've got a few over here. Let's have a look how much wood is in them. 19 out of 30, 20 out of 30, 26 out of 30. So ideally you don't want to be cutting the trees until they're fully grown. So again, 24 out of 30. But right at the beginning of the game, if you want to cut down some trees, it's not the end of the world. So what we will do is we'll click orders, we'll go cut, we'll drag a box around all these trees. I know it's not efficient, but we do want to cut those trees down. Now the orange mushrooms we don't, because we don't know what they are yet. And we'll cut the big broadleaf trees and we'll cut the broadleaf bushes because we're already observing them somewhere else. Click off and you will leave the orange mushrooms alone. Now again, I've just skipped forwards again, so what we want to do is now cut a bush. Oh, for some reason I thought I had... No, we're still observing that one. We don't want to cut it. So next we want a campfire, and of course we want wood to be able to build a campfire. So we can't build a chopping block either, but we want to get a chopping block, a workbench, a cook stove and a large drying rack all put down, because we've already found and are observing something called smoke leaf. So we'll go into that a little bit later on in the video. Again, this section will go to about 10 minutes because this is the important early game stuff. So we were cutting the one that was next to the one that we were observing, and we also have two, being easy mode, you get two guns. Now we've discovered the giant's grass. Up on the right hand side there you can see discovery and it says giant's grass. Now we want to put some shelving in. Whoop, we don't want it that big. Okay, that's fine. We'll get that constructed and again put it here. Now ideally we should have turned that round, but it's fine, it doesn't matter. If you want to do it for aesthetics, then you can change what you're doing. And we also want to put in a stockpile, and we're going to do that for 4 as well. And what you want to do is click on it, click on the little tab there and tick off raw food and cooked meals, because you don't want raw food and cooked meals sitting on the floor, you want them on the shelves. So for one of the shelves, just untick everything else apart from raw food and cooked meals. So that means your food is all going to go to one place. We can do it for the same for the other, or you can leave it being everything allowed. It's entirely up to you. It depends how much space you're going to want for food. Crafting materials, I mean, we don't really need to store those. We haven't even found any yet. And then looking raw fabrics, do you really need that? Again, the choice is yours, but I have one dedicated for food, and here's the unlock. So we've unlocked giant's grass for hay. So there we go, that's our first farming crop that we have unlocked by doing observation, and of course we are doing more observation around. Now the observation itself depends on your intelligent people. The higher the intelligence, the better it is for them to go and observe things. You don't want someone with no intelligence going to observe because it will take them a while. We've got a fallen log there, so we might as well get that cut. And again, just have a look. Here we've got some stone, so we're going to want to mine that. So again, you want to have a look in the local area around where your crash site is. Find some stone. Some of the seeds have stone directly next to the ship, others don't. I think, actually, what I will do is I will put the seed for this planet in the description of the video. I think it's like something like storm apple or something, but I will get that double checked. In fact, what I will do is I will find out. Now we're going to extend our shelters even more, so we're kind of getting a general base layout here. So there's another one going in, and again we want to put another shelter next to it, so again scrap metal and plop that down. Now we've scavenged 116 scrap metal from the crashed pod, so we are good to go for the time being. We just need to wait for everything to be crafted. Okay, so now we want to put in a table and we want to put in some chairs, but we also want our research desk, which is under science, and let's go with wood because we are going to be chopping down more trees, so that's good. By the way, the two words is divide basket. Okay, so we're going to put in a workbench as well, made out of wood. So the seed for this planet is divide-basket. Okay, and we're also putting in a chopping block as well, because what you can do is you can make sticks from wood from a chopping block. And the next thing you want to put in is a cook stove. So under that shelter we have got our research, our research desk, our workbench and our cook stove. Okay, now again I'm just popping the game into pause because the next thing you're going to want to have a look at is schedule, and at the very minimum you want to give your people a couple of hours of relaxation scheduled during the day. You can leave the anything time because they will go to sleep. And again, something else we're going to want to do is put our first wall around our base. We won't do that right this second, but we will before the end of the episode. And what you want to do is leave it on simple priorities to begin with. Later on, if it's not in this episode, it will most definitely be in the next episode. We'll be actually scheduling proper priorities. Very similar to Going Medieval, if you've watched my episodes on that. So you prioritise work based on people's skill sets, so that they're not wasting time doing things that they're not good at. So again, now what we're doing is we're running the game in high speed. I've just plopped it back into pause because I've noticed there is something that I want to do. Okay, so we're skipping forwards now, and this chap is carting 90 stone back, so that is Edmund. He's bringing it back to our base. And if we hover over our characters, we can see their happiness and their current skill levels. You can also see what they're wearing. So we want to give Edmund a gun because he is combat orientated, and then we want to give a second person a gun. Now nobody else is combat happy, but what you can do is give the second gun to Raka. So there we go, get that given, and he will go and pick it up. Now Raka loves construction, so if he's ever sad you could just actually really select something to build, because for some reason he loves building more than anything else in the world, even though he has a really mopey personality. I mean, generally he's a miserable guy, I have discovered as I've been playing through. But something else that does happen in the game as we progress is you do get additional survivors making their way to your camp. So you don't just have these 4 people. Now you can see those birds attacking a creature in the background. We now have some dead animals nearby that we could go and butcher. So for now what we're going to do is cook some emergency rations on the cook stove, on the fire, and we're going to make 4 of them. So somebody will now go and cook those resources. Now we've just unlocked big bushes and sticks from the new discovery that we've got, so that's good. So that was the broadleaf bush basically. And we now have research. Now the first thing you want to research is lightning rods. Now the reason I say that is because it doesn't matter even if you're on easy, the first thing that will happen is you will have a thunderstorm, and if you haven't got a lightning rod it can potentially wreck your base, which is a bit less than ideal. So what we've done is we've done lightning rod, metal refinement, weaponsmithing, and then really the next one doesn't matter because as the queue goes along you can swap the priorities over for what you're researching anyway, and it does take time. So the next thing we want to do is put a wooden table into our camp because, you know, you want to sit down to eat your dinner, don't you? Let's be honest, you don't want to be standing while you're eating. So let's put in enough chairs. So we're going to put 4 chairs on this table so everyone can sit down. So we're going to use the copy function again. Again, click on something, just hit copy. You don't need to find it in the sub menus again. And there we go. So we've now got a table due to be constructed, and our little camp is looking not too bad. Now there we go, you can see that's dead, and that creature is hunting the big bug. Oh, that's it, it's given up and it's gone. Well, we might as well go and butcher that because it will give us some meat which we can then turn into a meat stew. So let's butcher the other one over there as well. And there is that one right next to the base that for some reason I completely missed. This is about your celebrating the fact that you have your initial camp. I would say you do it. It's a great idea because what it does is it gives everyone a nice little positive boost. There we go. Everyone's moving around and doing stuff. Nobody's currently idle. So if anyone is idle, it will tell you on the sidebar, you will get 1, 2, 3, 4 people idle and not doing anything, which shouldn't happen at the beginning, but you do occasionally get it depending on which characters you've picked. So someone still needs to go and observe the tree. Oh, it's actually at a very high percentage, so it has nearly been observed. That's good. And then what we want to do is have a look around. We've got some rain, but there's some more stone up there, but more importantly, that red area is some nasty critters that could potentially come and attack our base. Not something that we want, if we're being completely honest. Okay, so Krista is currently observing, and you can also look at your characters at the top to see what they're currently doing. So, as an example, Edmund's getting food, Katina's getting food, as is Krista, and Raka is currently mining. So, until you have, because you always want a supply of sticks, so do it at any set number, so 20 is enough. Because this map, to be honest, if you're now going to use divide basket as your seed, you'll get the same map. There are a lot of bushes, which means you do have a lot of sticks. Now we are out of storage space, so what we need to do is we need to make our storage area bigger. So we want to put down a couple more of these scrap metal shelters. There's one, and then let's copy it and put another one next to it. There we go. We're already at insufficient materials to build both, and we want to expand our stockpile, and then we will expand our shelves. There's no option to expand it for some reason, not sure why. Would be good if you could, but for some reason it doesn't. And then same, you want to untick your raw food and your cooked meals, because you don't want them being placed on the floor. We certainly don't have any refrigeration yet, or freezers, and we have now discovered blade grass. So next thing we want to do is we want to put our shelves in. Now you'll notice I've put those in the wrong way round. So again, if you click storage shelf, and of course you can use the R and T keys to rotate things round, and you can cancel them by clicking on, and you don't want to deselect. What you want to do is click onto the eye and then go cancel, and again cancel them individually. That's it. And now build them again and turn them the right way around. Now we've just found some synthetic textiles from the wreck of our ship, so again rotate and just put the shelves in the right way around so they're more aesthetically pleasing. Now as you can see, the ones at the beginning that we put in, we actually put them in the wrong way around. So again, you can have another one just for food, so this and medicine. So this first wall on the left hand side is just for food. The second set of shelves, you can put anything on there, and again the stockpile, anything but food. Okay, so again we're going to skip forwards a bit, because what we're letting happen now is, you know, just bits and pieces to go through. Okay, so again, we've unlocked the blade grass. Fantastic. That's now another farm crop that we can grow, which is good. So as you observe things in this game, what it does is that allows you to then farm them. So campfire sitting is now due to start because we're at 1900 on the day, and we want to add meat soup to our fire and until, and then do it to like the number of people plus a couple maybe. So go for 5. So you're always going to have one spare. And we now are creating cooked rations and a simple meat stew. So again, speed up time. I tend to find for the first probably 7 to 14 days of this game, I tend to run it majority in high speed rather than anything else, just to get these things done and get your camp into a relatively good position. Of course, it's entirely up to you. You can run it at normal speed if you want. I've also noticed that people complain about their sleep being disturbed a hell of a lot at the beginning of the game. Purely because everyone's obviously just sleeping in an open shelter. You can also click and deactivate the roofs, or activate the roofs with that little house symbol at the top right hand corner. I was just showing you that these shelters do actually have roofs. And again, we've got loads of observations that haven't been done yet. And until those observations are done, you don't want to then go and harvest those plants because you want to be able to farm them. So now what we're doing is we're cancelling the scavenging. So we've got enough resources at the moment, although we don't have any scrap metal actually. We're still short of scrap metal. Let's have a look what else there is around. Okay, so we've got some red plants over there. We've got some more crashed wreck. We've got some trees up here that are actually nearly 30 wood, so that's 29. That's only 23, but we'll cut it as well because we do need some extra wood. So again, just mark some trees to be cut, and they will go and cut those and bring the wood back to camp. Now we do have 105 wood, so it's not terrible, and we do need to scavenge some more of the escape pod to get some more scrap metal, hopefully. Now Krista was looking at those like watermelons, and they end up being called buttermelons once they've been observed, and it's one of your early food sources. So we've got another new resource now, which is the meat soup, and what we're going to do now is put a wall around our base out of stone. Now we don't have a lot of stone, but it's fine, and what you want to do is you want to drag a fairly big square around your base because you want room for expansion. So there we go. Yeah, to about there will do, I think. Yeah, that'll do. And then what you want to do is go for some fence gates. So we'll put some wooden ones in. Now these are ones that your people will go through the fence doors and close them behind them, so they won't be open to attack. And what you also want to do is put in one set of fence gates at one point in the wall. So what will happen is if you come under attack, the creatures that are attacking you will focus on that open gate. Okay, again, just looking around, we've got some more stone that we need, so let's get it all mined. That's it. And again, we've got some more stone. I was just looking at that creature, but I think it is harmless. And that's going to give us some more stone anyway. Oh, Edmund has reached physical 3 because of all the labour that he's doing. That's good. Again, are there any other stones? I think really let's turn the camera around. Okay, there's some more over here. So let's just do mine, drag a big box, and there we go. So that's a load of stone that can now be mined. Now it's quite a walk from the base, but that's fine. And Edmund has written a short story. Now those short stories come in very handy for perking up your survivors at the beginning of the game. Now these bushes we're going to cut, because to be honest they're in the way of our wall, so we're going to get rid, and we'll be able to then get the final part of the wall done, and we'll have our base completely encircled and surrounded with a wall, which is the first early part of protection that you need for the game. And something else that we will do later on as the game progresses is we will ban the use of the emergency rations and focus on the foods that we're actually being able to harvest. Now I found on easy that food really isn't an issue. I would imagine in later difficulties it becomes a lot more of a challenge, but what I wanted to do is get a full understanding of the game before I started creating the content for you guys, so I knew as much as possible to give you a good idea of what you should be doing at the beginning of the game. So there we go, we're cutting all those bushes down, so we've got loads of extra space now. Now again, go to defense, go to fence, and what you could do is you could make one out of sticks. That is also an early game option. Now at the moment we've got 270 sticks. Oh, we've discovered the buttermelon. There we go. So now what you can do is go to orders and harvest. And now just drag a big old box over them and harvest all those buttermelons. And that is another food source for you. Okay, now we've got another site to scavenge, so let's get that scavenged and let's continue scavenging our escape pod. No, let's cancel it actually. Let's let them scavenge the other one first. Okay, so this still hasn't been fully observed yet, and that's a can't remember its name off the top of my head now. It's something cob, so it's basically like sweet corn. And you get grain from it. So again, quick recipes. We've now got veggie soup as an option, so go until, and then again 5. So you've got 1 extra. If everyone decides to have one, no one makes an additional one. There's a spare one for the following day. Now Katina is our designated cook, and later on we will actually prioritize her for cooking so we can get her leveled up so that we're able to make more recipes. And everything in this game has a lot of depth. So again, going to happiness, he's at 90, he's got the gun, you can have a look at the health and skills, their traits. And again, what we're going to do now is we're going to untick raw food off of all of our survivors. So we don't want them eating raw food. And under other, you have got emergency rations. So again, we'll untick that as well. So we're going to untick other, and untick other. Now what we should have really been doing there is also unticking raw food. So let's do that as well. Raw food, and raw food. And there we go. Okay, new resource, veggie soup. And Edmund has now reached physical 4 already. So obviously he keeps transporting the stone and he's building. And Raka is the same as well. He's a construction genius, so he builds most of the stuff in our base. Again, we'll cut down some more of these bushes. Might as well get rid. I forgot to click on cut there, so I haven't cut them. That's fine. Let's go to defense, go to fence, and let's make it out of sticks. So we'll go, should we go out a little bit, or should we just go straight from here? I think we'll go just straight from here, all the way across, down to the end, and over to make it a complete wall. Rotate the camera around, and then put in another fence door. You want at least 1 fence door on each side, or where the gate is you don't need one, just so that people can get in and out of the base through these fence doors. So let's copy it, and we'll just put 2 on this side. So we've got 1 on the other 2 sides in the main gate. This side we're going to build 2. Now we've got loads and loads of stick in stock, so that's fine. They're getting that fence built pretty sharpish, and in effect we are nearly there for having a full wall all the way around the base. Now if you go down, you can go into apparel, you can go into everything. So you've got synthetic vest, hats and helmets, pants, shoes and boots. All clothing items are divided and then subdivided, and we've found some liquid fuel as well as some alloys. So we've now got a bunch of alloys from the salvaging of those crashed ship components. And as you can see, we can now farm, so we can do buttermelon. But what first we want to do is expand our storage even further. So let's put another one of these. Insufficient materials. Okay. But we'll put in 2 anyway. Nope, we're still insufficient materials, which is fine. We're missing 31 scrap metal, but hopefully we'll get some. And we have now discovered the big broadleaf tree, so we can also plant that. This is why this observation at the beginning of the game is quite important. So we've also got grain cob now. So grain cob is those plants that I was telling you about earlier in the video. We can now plant a crop of grain cob as well. So let's leave him scavenging that one till he gets to 100% and then maybe turn it off. Oh, he's got more fuel. Okay. Oh, he's done anyway. That was the last. So the next thing is only salvage. And that is actually a research that you have to unlock. So we've got another big chunk of wreckage over there. That's what I said. This is quite a good seed. And in fact, what I will do is maybe even put it... Yeah, well, I've said I'll put it in the description. For a minute I was thinking I might put it on the thumbnail of this video, just to reiterate, but maybe not. So we've nearly observed that wideleaf plant, and grain cob we can now harvest. So what you want to do is go to, again, your orders and harvest, and drag a little thing around. So there we go, that's all the grain cob. Let's get it harvested. And once that has been observed, that is smoke leaf. So it's basically tobacco, and what you can then do is turn that into two different resources. You can turn it into tea, and you can turn it into pipes. Now, early access feedback, because this game is still early access, well, this is what I think of it. I'm giving everything 5 stars. Because really, this game, for an early access, is extremely well fleshed out and very, very detailed. I'm absolutely loving it so far. I've put in quite a large number of hours already, and then obviously I'm recording the footage for this series, which I will be doing as a full series until we get to the point where I think you guys will be comfortable enough to run off and do this yourselves, or I might just carry on the series like I have done with some of my other series, and just carry on playing the game and developing it as I go along. Haven't quite decided on that one yet, but I do hope you're enjoying this. And also, if you're using this to decide whether or not to buy this game, I would say definitely get it. If you want to wait till there's a Steam sale, I got this in the January sale. I think it had 10% off, or maybe 20, I can't remember. But obviously you can always wait for a Steam sale, but it is definitely worth buying. I give this game definitely 5 out of 5. The construction elements, the combat elements as well, which of course we haven't seen yet, and just everything in general about this game screams that the people that built it and made it were thinking about everything that they possibly could. And Frontier Foundry are backing the studio that are developing this game, and Frontier of course are the makers of such amazing games as Planet Coaster and Planet Zoo. Now, I've never done Planet Zoo content, but again, it is an awesome game. Now, why did that not let us cut? Interesting. Let's try that again. Cut. There we go, that's better. Oh, we still need to double click it, so let's add... Oh no, that's actually unselected the previous ones. Right, I'm just going to go through and do it one at a time, just for the sake of it. I know I didn't click the cut, but I was like, right, that's it, I'm doing them one at a time. Okay, we have now researched lightning rods, and I think that takes us to a very good point to finish. So power and lightning rod, and we want to get one of those plonked down in the center. So let's get that put down. So you want to cover everything, and also as you expand, don't forget to build additional lightning rods. So if you've got the game and you're going ahead more than this episode shows, just don't forget to cover everything that you expand with additional lightning rods, especially your crops, so your food, because if your food gets hit by lightning, it's not great. It basically wipes out the crop. Okay, we're going to mark some of this blade grass, and we're going to harvest that as well, because that will give us additional straw, which we can then use for roofs on wooden structures, so wooden shelters. And let's get Katina to go and do it, seeing as she was doing nothing. And we now have new research, which is tea boiling, and we've discovered smoke leaf. Now, smoke leaf, we're going to need to dry it out, so that's why I was saying you're going to want to buy the big drying rack. And of course we have all of these crops as well. Now, you could do them inside your base, or you can do them outside your base. It's entirely up to you. Early on and in easy mode, you're not really going to have creatures coming and eating the stuff, so you're quite safe to do it outside of your base. So let's go for buttermelon, and do we want to put it this side, or do we want to put it the other side? I think we'll put it over here. So let's put a big plot in. It's 100% growth, and then we're also going to put in some grain cob. Again, 100% growth, so that tells you that it's being put onto good soil. And some smoke leaf as well. We'll put some of that in. There we go. So one of those bushes now needs to be cut down. Raka is currently idling, but now we can use sticks. So there we go. So copy and put another one. So we've now expanded our shelter. Because we didn't get the additional scrap metal, we've been able to do a stick shelter. So again, you want to expand your stockpile, both sides. Oh, Krista had a research input in insight, which sped up research. That's very good. And we've got insufficient storage space. So again, as I was saying, we need more stockpile. So again, click on it and make sure you just remove raw food and cooked meals, because you don't want those put on the floor. Most other resources will survive under a roof and on the floor indefinitely, but food is not one of those resources. And of course you have all the other indoor furniture that you can put for once we start building a house, but I don't think those kind of storages are worth doing until we have unlocked construction of buildings. So again, turn this round so it's the right way. No, I'm going to keep turning that round. There we go, and expand the shelf. And again, this we will do as just food. So again, turn this one round. That's it. And there we go. We are getting towards the end of episode 1 of Stranded Alien Dawn, which, as I said, is a very cool game. Now, one of the other things we're going to do is put a shelter over our table. Now, the reason for that is when it's peeing it down with rain or a thunderstorm, you want your people to be still in shelter when they're having their dinner. It's just nice. So I think we'll put it there. That's it. There we go. Someone will get that built. And now, if it's raining, when they're eating their dinner, they're going to be staying dry. They don't have to eat in the peeing rain. Okay, so we've got metal refinement, we have weaponsmithing, tailoring, and wooden fortifications. So the next one after that, let's do cereal coffee, I think. I think we'll probably do cereal coffee. Let's have a look, what else is there? Oh, electrical grids. That is worth adding as well, of course. So I think maybe electrical grids. Yep, let's get that added. Research does take its time in this game. It is not quick by any stretch of the imagination, but you will find that your base grows organically with the research that you're doing. See, we can already put heating stoves and fireplaces, but let's put some entertainment stuff in. So under furniture, we're going to put in a dartboard, and we are also going to put in a shooting target. Now, you just want it out in the open, so it doesn't really matter where, and you can move it later if you want to. Any built item can be moved. And we're going to put an armchair in as well, and maybe put that in the corner. I don't know whether that's going to block him and trap him in there, but we'll stick it in there for now anyway. Okay, and that is the end of another day and the end pretty much of this episode. I do hope you've enjoyed. As I've said, if you're thinking about buying this game, I'd say go and get it. It is fantastic. And all that leaves me to say, of course, is let's put some traps in, which is one of the things we didn't do before the end of the episode. So we'll get those put in and get things tucked up nicely for episode 2. And until then, I'm Know It All Gaming, and all it leaves me to say, of course, is good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.